breaking news for your home. Wayday! Wayfair's big sale is almost here, and you can score the best deals in home. Like up to 80% off everything home. Yes, you heard that right. 80% off with free shipping on everything. Plus surprise flash deals all Wayday long. We're talking outdoor furniture and essentials, rugs, and more. All at Wayfair, and all up to 80% off during Wayday. Shop Wayfair's Wayday from April 25th through 27th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
What's going on, everybody? This is Chuck, and you're listening to the ITXP, the only show that brings you the truth in the industry. Probably not the only one, but just take my observations in the industry and how things go, what all people face, the BS that goes on at the higher levels of management, some of the BS that goes on when you work with senior architects, and just the nonsense that goes on in the industry. It happens everywhere, but in IT, it's just a little bit unique because you deal with technology. And now, over the course of the past 3 decades that I've been in this, we've gone from people that know technology, they're the only ones that know technology, to everybody having their ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok at their fingertips. And it can answer any questions that they may have around a problem that they're having, which is great. It's perfect. That's what we wanted the tool. I remember when the calculator was created, because I was around back then. Not kidding. And the people that were using Abacus are like, no, I can still do this faster. And the calculator guy's like, what are you talking about? Here's my computation. So that's where we are in the course of history. From a technology perspective, the advent of artificial intelligence now in the hands of the masses is just like another calculator. Just like a word processing software. Remember WordPerfect? Not many people do. So that's where we are. We have ChatGPT, we have Claude, we have Grok, we have DeepSeek, we have a bunch of other tools out there that people do. OpenClaw now, right, that just take over your machine and you can use it as your own personal assistant. Why not? Sure. Just use it. Use it all. Abuse it all. Let's change how the world works. So that way nobody ever has to work. When we get rid of money, we get rid of that thing that binds us to the desk every day. Let's just use AI to do everything that we needed to do. So one of the things that I started doing, apart from the ITXP, is corporate hardcore. I talked about it a few times. In addition to corporate hardcore, I've started to focus on this leadership series that I'm writing. And how that came about was pretty much me debating with myself as to whether or not I needed to go for a doctorate. I have my 2 masters in management and leadership, and my MBA in IT management. Sorry. So I'm like, do I go for my doctorate because that will give me the credentials in continuing studying and researching the work that I really want to focus on in terms of organizational management and leadership and how people are going to be led in this future landscape of AI. And I've written some articles. I've posted some of these articles on my Substack. Not some of them, all of them. But what I meant to say was I posted them on my TikTok. So if you go to my TikTok, you can go there. It's techleadshift.substack.com. I did create a webpage for it, or actually both the domain names and things like that. But it's there. I'm focused on this series, leveraging AI, of course. So I come up with the ideas. Excuse me. I leverage AI to do searches for me in terms of researching to make sure nobody has come up with these ideas before. And then also look for peer-reviewed articles or articles by Gartner, maybe Harvard Business Review, just to ensure that I'm not stepping on anybody's toes, because when you're working with AI, it's getting information from everywhere. And I don't want it to pull something where I'm going to plagiarize something. I want to make sure that I cite it properly. So far it's been good. What's interesting is that it actually does hallucinate articles. There was an article, I think in Forbes magazine, that it said something was there, and I was like, all right, let me take a look at it. And it wasn't there. It wasn't there at all. I'm like, oof, this is pretty scary. I'm using Okara.ai for the research, and primarily because it's touting the privacy aspect of it. It's not training any of the open source models that it uses. So it's actually pretty good. Because ultimately, I don't want to start feeding the model with ideas that I have into something else somebody else is doing, because we're all doing the same thing. We're all leveraging AI to flush out our ideas and build, I guess, some knowledge content around our observations. So everybody's doing that. Everybody's doing that. Like, nobody's not doing that. Substack is full of people doing that. So when you're sitting here and you're like, oh my God, Chuck, there's so much spam out there and AI slop, people calling it now. And it's like, okay, that's great. But are you using AI in the way that it tended to be? Right? To really enhance your own thoughts? To be able to correct what maybe you put down that was incorrect or not worded properly, or have it restructured in a way that it can target an audience that you want it to target? Things like that. Build a website for you. If you go to the itxp.com, I revamped it. I used a combination of GitHub Copilot and Claude Code. And then I pushed that shit up to GitHub, and Vercel.ai grabbed it and deployed the infrastructure, and boom, the itxp.com is live. Look, it's not glamorous, but it has everything up there. You don't have to go to Libsyn. You don't have to go to my GitHub pages. Holy cow, that GitHub pages is probably 8-9 years old, maybe. And it was a mess. It was like the web pages of GeoCities. Remember GeoCities? Remember we all started playing around with building websites on GeoCities? That's how GitHub Pages was. At least my GitHub Pages. So now I have the itxp.com fully deployed. I have the episode stage all the way from season 1 through season 12. So you can check it out. So if you're a new listener, all my episodes are there. My Monday morning musings, where I was trying to be like Bill Burr and just talking about nonsense every Monday morning. So that's there. I'm looking up at the webpage now. I started that in season 3 because season 2 was just 2 episodes. 2016, 2 episodes, and that's because I switched jobs. Right. So season 1 was 7 episodes. Season 2 was 2 episodes. Season 3, I was adventurous. I had 15 episodes in season 3. Most of those are Monday morning musings. Then you go to season 4. Season 4 was my biggest season. Let me tell you, episodes 26 through 51. Monday morning musings was a big part of that, but still, it was good. I had things like a book review, making work visible book review. What was I doing back then in 2018? What was I doing? What was in my mind? What was going on? You know, did my 9/11 story back then in 2018? Talk about high severity incidents, statements of work. Oh, so you want to work in IT? Episode 412. Go check it out. You'll be laughing. Automate, automate, automate. These titles are all mine. I take credit for every single title out here. Up until probably season 10 or 11, everything was mine. Like, I don't use AI. I didn't use AI for any of this stuff. And then season 5, right? Episodes 52 to 98. Episode 52 to 98. I would say this was my pinnacle year of the ITXP. Just going through, like, I reposted stuff from season 1 in the summer because I wanted to keep the momentum going. So season 5 started off with Monday Morning Musings. January 14th, 2019, Monday Morning Musings. Then I did a season 5 premiere. And then I go into conference call etiquettes. And look, you have to remember, a lot of this stuff was my observations in my new job. Or at this point, I was 3 years in my job. But it's always been an observation of what I deal with. So I'm sure something happened during a conference call, and I just had to talk about it. Then I went into the other aspect of what I wanted to do, just answering Reddit questions, like fun, silly things that I was just going through, just not having real cohesion in this show. Just talking about it. Again, it's like a brain dump. The ITXP has always been just a brain dump of stuff. And then more Monday morning. I got to listen to we should do like a live listen of these Monday morning musings because it's funny. And then organizational change. Yes. February 14th, 2019. Holy cow. That was the Valentine's Day massacre at the company. Like 20% of the company got laid off. It was just like bloodbath. Like I was sitting in a room with somebody. I was somebody's office. That's what it was. I was sitting in somebody's office and we were talking about GDPR and data sovereignty because we're deploying stuff in AWS. And we were talking about, well, you can't host this there because GDPR. And he's in the middle of a conversation and he just, his face goes pale white. He looks at his calendar and he's like, well, Chuck, it's been nice working with you. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like, yeah, man, sorry. And I just walked out. I didn't even say anything else to that guy. And fortunately for him, he's picked himself up and he's a published author and things like that. But that February 14th Valentine's Day massacre, that's probably where organizational change came from, I should say. That's why I recorded that episode. And we all go through this stuff, and I already had a platform that I knew that I wanted to just air out my thoughts. And that's where organizational change came from. And then organizational change, the aftermath, because you get the bloodness, what the hell, the massacre, right? You get the massacre on Valentine's Day, and then 8 days later, I go through the aftermath, like, this is what happened. It's like, man, it's all observations. This is what the show's about. Then more Monday morning musings. Talk about the help desk. I don't even know what this. I don't have like any descriptions on it. I just have titles. Technical. Oh, this is. I know what this probably is. I started going through different job functions within IT. That's what this is. So I started with the help desk because I started at the help desk. Then technical desktop support. It should be technical/desktop support. Then sysadmin, then network engineering. Oh, this is fun. Cloud ops and engineering. I didn't have any knowledge into that. I should go back and do this. Database admin and engineering. That was the crux of it. Database admin and engineering was the last of it. Why'd I stop there? No idea. And then I just go into IT professional ramblings. Like, is there anything? Just some ramblings while I reflect a bit on the IN security forum in New York. Okay, sure. Did I have descriptions? Oh, I did have descriptions. Let's see, if I go back to help desk. And I really have a purpose of this show, but this is good to reminisce. Oh, the help desk. This is the first in a series of going deeper into some of the job functions you can find yourself holding within IT. I start with the help desk as your launch pad for your career. While not glamorous in nature, it will help you build upon your existing skills that will make you successful throughout the rest of your career. Damn, what was I smoking? So I went to IAN's conference in May of 2019, and then I remember this. My friend Rudy and I went to this data science conference, Rev 2 Data Science Conference. Oh, I remember that. And then I talk about mental health in IT. I think that's still a prominent topic that should be covered again in probably more detail now that I have more experience behind my belt. Managing a project as a tech lead. I did some season 1 repeats, season 4 repeats during the summer. I covered the Apple 2019 event. Why? I don't even know. When no one declares a disaster. Oh, this is the highlight of season 5. My CISSP journey, part 1 and part 2. Yeah, season 5 was the pinnacle. In season 6, I go back to 6 episodes. Season 7 had 10 episodes. Right, this is where I talk about WGU. Season 8, 5 episodes. Season 9, 4. It goes back down. Season 9, that was my UEFN. I was hyped up all about UEFN, right? The Unreal Engine Fortnite editor. That was me, man. I was going to build my first game in UEFN. I was all in, man. I was all in. Then I did three episodes, and that was it. That was it for season 9. Done. Then season 10, the pinnacle of that was fail.con when CrowdStrike failed. Right? This is all stupid shit. And then season 11 last year, and then this year, here we are. Season 12. So the ITXP's there. I have some blogs. Oh, I put a blog post in there in season 12 kickoff about me. And then there's a contact page. Look, if you want to contact me, you want to collab, you want to be a guest, you want to co-host, you want to talk some shit, reach out to me. I'm in there, right? And I did all this with GitHub Copilot and Claude, and it's good to go. So going back to Substack and what I've been doing with my leadership series. And I started it when I was thinking about going through the PhD cycle, because I really feel like, man, I could be a really good research guy, professor, whatever you want to call it. But I just don't want to put in that time because I have so many other things going on. Right, I have this, I have corporate hardcore, my new tech lead shift, and then I'm also looking at becoming a travel advisor, right? Building that whole brand more for the family, not for me. So just working through that. And the first article in that series was titled "The Room That Didn't Know What Didn't Know." Like, you don't know what you don't know. And it talks about, I was actually in a room, and a lot of this stuff, names are changed to protect the innocent. And I try to tell it more like a story. So, and what's funny, I'll get into this first article, but I've posted something in LinkedIn and Substack as notes, like a little brief, not articles, like commentary, observations on things that I do. And I posted something about working with infrastructure folks and how they didn't want to embrace AI to help with their SOPs and things like that. And I did have that conversation, not within my company, but because I posted it on LinkedIn, my former boss reached out to the virtualization guy on our team, and he's like, "What is Chuck talking about? is this you? And he's like, no, it's not me. It's not me. So I went into the office the other day and he hits me up. He's like, yo, that post of yours. I was like, what? He's like, so-and-so called me. He's like, what are you guys doing over there? He's like, how come you're not embracing AI? And he starts laughing. He's like, yo, that wasn't us. He's like, I don't know who Chuck's talking about, but it wasn't us. So I was like, no, it definitely wasn't you. It wasn't you guys. Nobody here. I just tell it based on the story, based on my conversations and observations. And I probably should preface that, but I'm not going to. So I was in a room talking about a demo that somebody was doing, and they were showing the demo. It was pretty slick, and everybody's like nodding their head, and they're like, "Yo, this is cool, right?" Excuse me. And somebody raised their hand. They go, "Hey, what about the security holes and any architecture drift?" And it was like quiet. I was like, you could tell. I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And then the presenter goes, "Well, we'll monitor." And then nobody says, "Well, what are you going to monitor?" Right? Like it's what are you monitoring? Like what are you doing? If you're having this agent build something, like what are you monitoring? And the agent's not at a stand up with you and saying like, "Oh, I'm doing X, Y, and Z today," or like, "Here's my juror," and maybe updating juror tickets, right? Like let's not too bent out of shape. It may be doing that, right? But it doesn't really kind of come to you and like I'm a boss and go, "Hey, got to stand up," right? Maybe I'm a scrum master and just stand up because as management you do like 30 different thousand things. So I'm the scrum master here, and I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And the agent says, "Hey, I'm working, bro." Meanwhile, a human would be like, "Hey, I got a problem, right? I'm working on this feature, and it just stuff's not working right. I'm gonna have to probably push it past the sprint, and we'll talk about it." But an AI agent's gonna be like, "Boom, churn along. It's gonna continue working." It's not gonna say, "Yo, I made a mistake." It's not gonna say that, right? Because it's just doing what you told it to do, and that really struck me in terms of, well, what the hell are we doing with all these agents? We're building shit, and we're like, "Oh yeah, good job, yeah, AI, 10x you, woo!" But nobody's asking the questions. It's like, well, what the hell's gonna happen when nobody's monitoring this shit? Right? Because it's not about the tool. It's not. It's about the processes. Right? And organizations are treating AI adoptions like any other tech refresh, right? Capability, costs, and integration. Right? And then you have the same leadership playbooks that they've been using for human teams. And then there's like a lot of assumptions. Once the model is in production, the existing management layers will simply absorb the new workload, sorry. Except that workload, I can't say workload, I don't know why. Except that new workload isn't human. And the old leadership frameworks were never designed for digital workers. And that's where I step in. And that's where I'm building this leadership series around observations and just churning through my thoughts and hopefully sparking questions that other leaders are having. Because I know I can't be the only one asking these things. And one of the things in that meeting, right, like nobody asked, what is this going to look like in 12 to 24 months? Not the demo, not the pilot, the sustained operational reality. Right? Like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? So that's what my Substack is, right? Tech Lead Shift. I want to bring that conversation here. I'm going to start bringing it to the fold with ITXP because I think it's relevant. Throughout my career, it's been very technology focused, talking about how I deal with work And again, my observations, we talked through some of the episodes in at least season 5 and 6 of what I deal with in IT, and your experiences may vary, your mileage may vary, but it's something that I felt like was important as we continue down this AI road, especially with leadership. And some of you are like, yo, Chuck, I'm not a manager, I'm not a leader, right? I'm just, just some guy. I was like, yeah, but that's going to change. That's going to change significantly. Like every framework we were taught was built for humans. And I have an idea of what the future landscape is going to look like in terms of management and leadership, especially with the digital worker. It's going to change that landscape of management and leadership 180 degrees. Because when you're dealing with people, you can manipulate people, right? If you're a good liar and if you have that personality, you can't do that with AI. You can't do that with a digital worker yet. Because if you try to manipulate the digital worker, it's going to do whatever you want. And if you follow my series, as we continue down this, you'll see I talk about that already. It's already been posted. So as I get to that episode, you'll be able to go back, or if you want to see what's been posted now on my Substack, you can see it there. But the landscape of management's going to change. And I truly and firmly believe that. And I think a lot of these leaders aren't thinking about that because they're just like, oh, we're just going to, make money hands over fist with AI. I don't have to worry about humans and things like that anymore. But they're not going to understand how to manage the AI agents. Right? Because look, here are the assumptions that you can make around every leadership model. Right? The people you lead are observable. You can see them. All right? Then you can clarify intent through conversation. There we go with the manipulation. And then accountability is personal. You sit down with them on the one-on-ones, maybe you find the root cause, and then you coach towards better performance. Those are the 3 assumptions that every leadership model brings to the table. But those 3 assumptions are broken already with these digital workers. They are. So let me walk you through the framework that you actually know and show exactly where they fall apart, right? So this is a leadership series. I have a master's in management and leadership, I have an MBA in IT management, right? So the first one we talk about is servant leadership autopsy. I pride myself as a servant leader because the core idea is leaders exist to remove obstacles so people can do their best work. That's where I feel like I thrive in. So I find myself 60-40, 60% transformational transformational leader, and then 40% servant leader, right? So the servant leadership, leaders exist to remove obstacles so people can do their best work. Works for humans because you have egos, you have career goals, you have emotional needs. You coach, you advocate, you help them grow. Now, let's replace that with an autonomous coding agent. No ego. Doesn't care about career progression. It's like, Chuck, I don't want your job. It will happily generate code that meets the letter of the prompt, even if the spirit violates your internal standards. But what an agent needs is tightly defined objectives, strict guardrails, and continuous oversight of outputs. Servant leadership doesn't tell you how to provide any of that. It doesn't. Next one, situational leadership. The core idea is adapt your style based on the maturity of the individual. So there's directing, coaching, supporting, delegating. AI agent doesn't mature, doesn't move along that continuum based on development. Its maturity is whatever version of the model you're running today plus whatever prompt engineering you applied last week. That entire diagnostic framework collapses because there's no individual to assess. You don't. You have to meet the agent where it was and realize there's no way to meet it. I can't go, hey, agent, let's go have some coffee and talk. You can't. So, how is a situational leader supposed to adapt to that? Because the agent's doing what the agent's doing. It's working. Doesn't have a bad day. Maybe no family problems. Maybe didn't arrive late because the car or the trains were delayed. No. There's nothing. I can't adapt the style based on the maturity because that agent is going to do the agent things. So situational leadership is already broken. Then we go on to transformational leadership. The core idea of transformational leadership is inspiring vision, intellectual stimulation, individualized consideration. It's super duper powerful for humans motivated by purpose and personal growth. An AI agent doesn't respond to vision. It responds to parameters. It doesn't get intellectually stimulated. It executes whatever inference path it weighs to dictate. So, what are you trying to transform? Right? It's like trying to transform. It's like trying to inspire a laptop to do better. So, how do you be a transformational leader in the age of AI agents or digital workers? So the frameworks aren't broken. They're just aimed at the wrong target. They're useful for humans. But the problem is you're going to try to apply those same frameworks to a hybrid team, and it's just not going to be useful. So now the new leadership problem is creating a framework to, when you're deploying AI agents faster than, rethinking who's accountable for the outputs. Right. So right now I'm further along than many organizations on this, and there are still days where I catch myself falling back on the old instincts of systems that can't push back. Right. I haven't solved that problem. I'm just already thinking about it. And a lot of people aren't thinking about it because they're just thinking about building products. And fortunately for me, I'm sitting on the outside, not building products, building teams to support those products. And my team is using AI left and right. And I ask these questions all the time with my team. And you're probably like, well, Chuck, you must not be doing any work. No, I do a lot of work. But this is something I've been thinking about, since the advent of ChatGPT, when it was deployed to the masses in December 22. Right? So think about it. Right? Think about how that framework of leadership changes with a hybrid team. Maybe right now, 3/4 human, a quarter digital. In the next year, 50-50. In the next 2 years, 60-40. In the next 3 years, 75-25. Right? So the question you need to sit with before your next deployment, right? Culture isn't how humans treat each other in meetings. It's the shared assumptions, incentives, and behaviors that drive how work actually gets done. So when you introduce AI agents, you don't add neutral productivity tools. You add amplifiers. They inherit whatever culture already exists and scales it at machine speeds. So think about that. They inherit whatever culture already exists today in your organization and scales it at machine speeds. So if you have a culture where you get vague requirements, you're going to get vague and inconsistent agents, results at volume. If you have an activity over outcomes culture, you're going to get mountains of low value work nobody has time to review. If you have the avoids hard accountability conversations culture, those conversations become harder when the failure isn't even human. And I had a conversation with my direct manager today about this exact problem. At the pace that the company's running now, something's going to break. Something's going to fail. And that AI agent is going to be responsible for that failure. But who's responsible for the AI agent? Right? So the incident report for that is going to be like agent optimized for professional tone. But the agent's never going to raise a hand and say, hey, this might be missing something important. It's just going to execute what you told it to execute. Right? And these are things that you need to really sit with some more and think through, especially for those that are in management positions, leadership positions. Have you even started thinking about how this plays out in your organization? I remember when we were working through our AWS account vending process, it was literally maybe 4, 5, 6 hours of just walking through the process and asking questions and asking that, oh yeah, Bob does this. Why isn't that in the SOP? Yeah, Bob did it. What happened was Bob's out. We'll wait for Bob to come back. Okay. Yeah, that doesn't work like that. Right? So the leadership implication. You stop treating AI adoptions as a technology initiative. Start treating it as a leadership and culture initiative from day one. So what that means is before deployment, ask what assumptions about work quality and accountability are being coded into agents. Build a muscle around defining objectives that machines can actually follow without constant human babysitting. And most of all, it means recognizing that the first AI leadership crisis will not be about models hallucinating or cost spiraling. It will be about organizations discovering that their human leadership practices were never as robust as they thought, once the invisible workforce starts scaling them. And all these trainings that we do from a management level are not accounting for the digital worker. And let that sit with you, right? Let that sit with you. The AI leadership crisis will not be about models hallucinating or cost spiraling. It's going to be about organizations discovering that their human leadership practices were never as robust as they thought. And it's got to hit home with some of you. You may have taken a lot of courses or a lot of trainings in management and leadership. I know I have for my company. And it's always about the people. We're now on these performance pulses, quarterly performance pulses. What did you do this quarter? What value did you add against the strategic objectives? But nobody's talking about these digital workers. Nobody. So if your current leadership framework assumes a fully human workforce, and you're about to add a non-human one that scales whatever culture you already have, what parts of how you lead today are quietly broken and you just haven't seen it yet. So think through that. You don't need to answer it now. I'm not going to answer it. But think through that. What's broken in your organization that you need to fix before you start deploying those AI agents? And for me personally, I've surfaced a lot of broken processes over the past 3 months. Unfortunately for me, because one of my engineers is out sick, unfortunately for him, but he's out sick. And I've been able to step in. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of stuff that's just like tribal knowledge. It's just like, what's going on? Like, why aren't we doing this? Like, why hasn't this SOP been updated in 5 years or 4 years? Because that's going to happen to you as well. It's going to happen. So think about it now. Start planning for that. Even if your organization is not thinking about it, you should be thinking about it. That's your role, especially as a leader or manager. You could be a manager and a leader at the same time. Maybe your title doesn't reflect that, but you should be thinking about what to do and how to address these things. And if you go asking questions, you're going to find that nobody has the answer. We're building this together. So when I started thinking about this, I was like, do I go into academia and start doing research on things like that? I think that's probably not a good use of my time, because I can leverage these observational insights into building out a broader question and engaging others in the industry that may be thinking the same thing. So think about it, muddle over. We'll get to maybe the getting to an answer around it. But in the next episode, I'm going to talk to you about specific afternoon where I found my answers to that question. I called it delegation drift. It cost my team probably about a day, and it started with me giving an agent an instruction I thought was clear. All right. So check out my Substack, techleadshift.substack.com. And the podcast is here at the ITXP, the newly revamped the ITXP. Check it out, and I'll see you next week. Take care.
When I found out I was going to be a parent, I immediately felt a lot of anxiety and worry. So I went on to BetterHelp to try to look for a therapist to help me with that.
My relationship with my family and with my boyfriend and with myself were suffering. I really needed help.
I was ruminating a lot. Really getting those thoughts out to a therapist and getting feedback was just life-changing.
Discover what BetterHelp Online Therapy can do for you. Visit BetterHelp.com today.